hello everyone in Facebook world and joining us, everyone who's joining us via Zoom. That we are live on Facebook. I'm going to share a few of the slides that we've got for today's program. Okay, can you see that? It should say Nisenan Storywalk. Everybody see that? Okay, wonderful. So today we're talking about an ongoing project that we have going on with the California Heritage Indigenous Research Project and the people of the Nevada City Rancheria. But first we want to read out this land acknowledgement that Shelley shared with us. So we acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. We understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition. So I'm going to give you a moment to read that over yourselves. And if you want more information or to learn about how you can support the tribe, you can visit nisenan.org. So that link is at the very, very bottom. And we can pop that into the chat in a little bit. All right, a little quick background information about this project. So this Storywalk project was supported by the U.S. Institute of Museum and Library Services under the provisions of the Library Services and Technology Act, administered in California by the state librarian as part of a collaboration between the Nisenan tribe of the Nevada City Rancheria and the Nevada County Community Library. So this is another thing that we're exploring. So last week, or last time we explored our virtual map that of the Nisenan that was also part of this kind of overall project, and this is just another piece of that. So let's talk about education and tribal inclusion and how physical points of interest help to raise visibility. And this is all Shelley.
Awesome. Homakani, Homo Yabemi, Nishinanamemi Wakamni, Lidam Lily Yapemni. Good morning, good afternoon. I guess it's not morning anymore, is it? You know, I think it's been a journey to understand coming from complete erasure, where I know that when I went to school here in Nevada County, you know, kindergarten through NU, graduated NU, that our local history is, you know, burdened or laden or whatever word you want to use. Scales are tipped about the gold rush. You know, that's when most of the people came. Our tribe didn't read or write. And so our records and our history are orally passed from person to person in the tribe for generations. And this is a very, very old culture that has always worked this way. So when modern people came here, the settlers and the pioneers, and brought with them their language, brought with them their ways of recording history. And so it seems obvious to me, like, well, yeah, of course, unless somebody's sitting down, like the ethnologist, linguistics departments come and they're actually studying the people and writing down the stories. It's all dependent on what is asked of the people that are being interviewed. And so it seems to me very obvious where this history of our people can be lost along the way. And it's a great opportunity now, you know, especially as I get older, I feel that we have to be incredibly creative in the way that we reintroduce this old history into our current memory, you know, moving forward, that we're making history, you know, as they say, we're making history right now. And so the ways that we've had to do this have been they've been incredibly creative. I know that for me personally, it's all about a personal relationship. It's all about building community and a network where we sit and talk and just hear one another and can affect change in that way. Because otherwise, it's like the tribal community comes to this impasse over and over and over again with academia. With the written word, because people are like, I study history and that's not what I've read. And so it's like, I don't think it's mean necessarily, especially today. There's just, it's like, that's not what I learned. And there's this moment of like, you must be wrong, because it's not written down anywhere. And so our first project with the library was really building that collection. That's her gorgeous background right now. Building the first Nisenan collection where people can go and look up the tribe geographically based. So we, regardless of what label any certain person put on us at any time, and there, I think our linguist had said there were over 20 different things that outside people had called the tribe and our families here. So it gets really difficult. Only the linguists seem to know what the people called themselves. And that's who we are. My grandpa had told me, we're not Maidu, we're Nishnam. And so bringing this knowledge forward has been very difficult. Nobody in my family or tribe is college taught. We have some of the 2 generations below me now. A couple of the boys have gone to college, and which is something we're really proud of. I believe I was the first in my family to ever graduate high school. So it feels like this mountainous topic that we're trying to address, and yet none of us have the tools to address it. So along comes the library partnership, and the goals that we set with both this grant and the last grant. It really is finding these creative ways to reinsert our history into mainstream knowledge. And what has come up is like the gorgeous, the big canvas behind me is like art, the literary arts. Like there's this little like secret pathway behind. It's kind of a sneak around on everything, and it blooms up in a way that maybe isn't as controversial as well, with some of the historical viewpoint that wants to. I don't, I'm not trying to blame anybody, but I just think, like I said before, there's this like, well, it's not in any of the history books, so it must not be true. So bringing this really amazing pairing, the visibility has been a challenge, to say the least. And now that it's happening, though, the visibility, like people, the land acknowledgement, the Storywalks, the books that are written in language now. It's the first Nisenan reader is out there. It's one project can affect so many people, and I think the moment is now. People have their ears open, and there's not as much as that pushback that we get from a lot of times anthropology, ethnology. The linguistics is usually our best friend because they were out there studying these old people and asking some of the questions, not all the questions. I do find that women are mostly absent from that record, because of the times, I suppose, that back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, women weren't seen to have as much value as we know we have. Every moment, every time somebody says the word Nisenan, like we are telling the public who we are, and it's being reflected back, and it's echoing our voice and making it bigger. And I just, somebody had told me one time about the tipping, like things are bad, and then the tipping point when it starts going like this. And it's all so hard, but once it starts kind of tipping in your favor, it's faster and it spreads wider. And, I truly believe that there's so many organizations we work with that help to raise visibility in so many areas. But, having the library partnership in these grants has really, we've been able to guide, like to say, well, they say, well, what are you trying to do? What do we need? And that those have come together in such a great way has just been fabulous. And raising that visibility, trying to get our federal recognition back. I understand that we can affect change and knowledge here. We're a small community, and I think our community is just, I mean, they're incredible. They help spread so much, spread the word. But how do we do that nationally? Like if we do go for legislation, like we have to convince Iowa or their people, you know, like how do we tell the nation that we're important and that we had federal recognition and we deserve to have it back? And the point that I've come to is like the amount of gold that was taken from our territory here, from our people that was mined out of these hills, affected the American moment. You know, it helped win wars. It fueled the creation of the state of California, was the gold taken from here in the wealth. So, you know, I found these little ways that I'm like, oh, well, we actually should be of importance. You know, we are the Wild Wild West. Do you like those TV shows? Well, that's us. You know, that's who we are. And maybe we are, you know, I don't like to say the word worthy, but maybe we are worthy of people listening and caring. Yeah, so I mean, that's where, you know, visibility is the absolute most important piece of all these conversations. Otherwise, we just remain erased, completely erased, which we were when I feel that when I was younger, we were just, nobody knew. Some people are surprised to know there was this long ancient culture and history here before the gold rush came. And I think people are excited to learn about it.
Definitely. Thank you, Shelley. And I'm going to share that one more time. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so let's talk about this example of visibility. So right now we have a couple temporary story walks up, including the book, the Nisenan Reader, which is up right now in Nevada City. So you see that map on the right side of the screen. So if you want to do that walkthrough, go through downtown Nevada City and read the book as you're walking, you can do that, you know, this week and through mid-March. We'll have that up. And maybe you already had a chance to see it. Maybe if you were in Grass Valley in February, we had the picture book up in storefront windows, and you could walk from storefront to storefront to read the book and experience the town, the area that the Nisenan were in, that this character is based upon, which I think is very, very cool. So this is what a story walk is. It's a series of open book pages that are available to see either in storefronts or on signs, that you walk through to experience, and you read as you go along. So today we're talking about a permanent story walk. This is going to be a permanent visible place. And we've set it up so it can be semi-permanent. So it is concreted in, but they used this cool foam concrete so that it can be moved if ever we find a better place for it, or a place that the Nisenan people more approve of. So we're definitely willing to work with them. For right now, it is here at the Madeleine Helling Library. There's a path, the Rood Center path, that starts down at the bottom of the hill and goes to the stoplight here. And all along that path is going to be this story. So the signs are in, but the actual book pages are being used for the temporary story walk in Nevada City right now. So we're working on maybe reprinting those so we can get that up a little bit quicker. But yeah, that's where that's going to be. So let's go through a quick video tour. And I'm going to pause a little ways in, but see there at the top of the hill is the Madeleine Helling Library. And as you go down the hill, you'll see the Eric Rood Administrative Center here. And then we keep turning. And here we are on the corner. And you'll see the sidewalk here, and there is the very first sign of our Storywalk.
Yay!
So as you approach, you will see this cover. So Shelley, can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Oh, sure. So this is Ani To'opek Bet'em Payom. And this story is based on my grandma Carmel, who's my mom's mom. And she is Nisenan and Miwok. And she was orphaned at 2 and raised on the Auburn Rancheria. And she was really raised by, she just called them those old Indian ladies. And I mean, they were old. She would tell the stories about how the old ladies up here in Nevada City would walk down to the down in Auburn, and they were like 90, 93, and they would walk, and it would sometimes take them 2 days, 3 days to get down there, depending on, I guess, how fast they could go. I can't even imagine walking to Auburn first. So especially if I'm, 90. And she tells a story how she used to go up on this one hill because she knew they would be coming, and she'd wait for them, and she'd run out and help carry their stuff back up to the reservation. But the old lady down there, Jean Lewis, called her Ani To'opek. Ani To'opek. And because we don't have any fluent Nisenan speakers in the tribe, my grandma had songs and stories and words that she was sharing before she passed away when she was 94. But she remembered this. She always called it a nickname, that the old ladies gave her. It really, after, I don't want to say interrogating her. I was such a curious person, and I would just ask her questions all the time. And I took care of her at my house until she passed away. Also with my dad's mom, my grandma Betty, I took care of them at my house, and they got to, pass away at home. But I was given the privilege and the opportunity to be with her in her older days, and I got to ask her stuff all the time. She loved talking about the old days. And so after talking with her, this was really the name that was given to her at her woman's ceremony. And we've tried to translate this into Nisenan, and it's been hard we haven't really figured out the whole thing, but the Ani is a dear one. And it's really amazing because one of the songs that I had learned is Yoani, 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 Yoana, Yoani, 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 Yoana, which is like a lullaby, which makes sense. If your mom's saying, "Oh, dear one," and holding you and rocking you. So, but anyway, that's her, Ani To'ope, and this character in the book is based on her.
Okay. So there are 10 signs in total. We're trying to show you, you should be able to see each sign from the last one. The walk is about a quarter of a mile, a half mile. It's a nice little decent walk. It's stroller friendly, as you can see, as it is a reader, so it is for younger readers as well. It is in Nisenan language, so we'll have translation available so that you can find out the meaning after you've enjoyed your walk, or potentially during enjoying your walk. But you'll see I got this video right as they finished installing the signs. the end of last week. So this is brand new. And it really is a very lovely, easy walk.
Awesome. Oh yeah, there they are. They was putting in the last one.
Yeah, so the last one ends right here at this fence line. I figured if you're walking with kids, it might be nice to end at a trash can.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very lovely walk, and it's a very lovely story to enjoy on the walk and feel very much in the presence of Shelley's grandmother and her story, and the place that, yeah.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm happy because a lot of things, that we've done, like we did interpretive signage out at the Goldfields with Circle. And I mean, it's a hike to get out there. I got to see the sign before it was placed out there. But like the elders will never be able to get out to those spots anymore to see them. So, I mean, this is great. My mom's always wanting to walk somewhere flat. She always wants me to take her to the fairgrounds so she can walk around the loop. So she would love this. And, it's their mom. So being able to see this, yeah, we had talked, about the translation in the book. It's all in Nisenan, and you have a pronunciation guide that tells you how to make the sounds, because some of the sounds in Nisenan are not in English. And keeping there's a translation page, but it's at the back of the book, so you get to experience the language and experience it. And I think it's a little tiny bit of work for people. Like for me, it's exciting because I enjoy that kind of thing. Like it's a little bit of a mystery, like figuring out how to say it and then going to the end and seeing the translation. But, being out on the trail, I don't think we've fully decided, have we yet, Megan? I don't know if we've decided to put the English translations on there. I figure if you don't have the book and you don't have the time to sit there and, play with all that other language and the sounds and everything, that it may be people want to know what they're reading. So I don't know that we've fully decided on that piece yet. And I think either way is great. Being out there in beauty, and because the story is about it's really addressing the animals that are no longer here today with us. In Nisenan history and culture, there are many times in the past. You can talk about the past or the long ago past, or this other, it's Hamakum, I believe is the way it's said. But it talks about the long ago past, before humans were here, and it was the animals. And, we get fire from animals. We get all of our teachings from grizzly, condor, wolf, all these animals who are really no longer part of our communities today, for all the obvious reasons, I guess, ranching and farming. They're seen as predators, and of course grizzly were very, very dangerous, but they are the wise ones. I know the bear mothers and some of the other animals are who taught humans how to nurture their young, taught us about family and protecting one another in our families and how important family is. And it's really in the book. She's doing her dance out in her sacred place in the forest, her special spot, and she's calling in all these animals, and they end up all, sort of in the dance group with her. And it's just, I'm so connected to animals. I always have been, probably because my mom is, and now my daughter is. And they're so important on this landscape, especially as we talk about sustainable living and tending our forests and all these things. Like there were huge herds of elk and antelope here that are just, there's no sign of them anymore. And most people don't even know that, like how much it's changed and who's gone from the story. And so it was just a moment to call back in some of those animals, and she calls them in, and then they put on their dance regalia and they're all dancing around together at the end. And it's just a really beautiful story for me, and to remember that, you know, in those old stories, the humans are always the dumb ones who need guidance from these animals who have lived here on Earth a lot longer than we have. And also because I feel that we're so ill-equipped, we don't have fur, we don't have claws, we don't have the big shredding teeth to like take care of ourselves out in the forest without, you know, kind of modern technology today, I guess. But we're the ones that are really equipped, and yet humanity has sort of put itself at the top of the, you know, the top of the ladder as the all-knowing. So it's just another moment to remember our whole culture is based on learning from the animals, and then learning what not to do from Coyote is our big trickster, and he's bawdy and greedy and lazy and just all the things that you never want to be like Coyote. They just stand as these archetypes of when you're teaching children, especially you know, what not to be and learning you know, the positive things from some of the other animals.
All right, so yeah, thank you for exploring the Storywalk trail with us. We hope you enjoy this trail as well as the many others, including the tribute trail, the Nisenan tribute trail that we explored a couple weeks ago. I see we do have a question coming in. Could you please explain or define the term rancheria?
Oh, sure. So that term really is kind of carried over from when California belonged to Mexico. And it's based on the old rancheros. So John Sutter, James Marshall, Cordova, some of the big, huge landholders were of partial Mexican or Spanish descent. Some of the people from the missions, excuse me, had come up this way. Anyway, they, you know, they also had Indian workforces or Native Americans that worked on these huge ranchos. And so in California, especially, I've seen a couple in Nevada that are called rancherias rather than reservations. It's basically the same thing. It's like an encampment of Native people of the area. And it's mostly used in California though. And it's like a reservation. To me, I interchange the two words as synonyms, same thing. Some people argue in a different way because most reservations are created by treaty, and that the rancherias, you know, we had treaty signers who came out in 1851. They signed treaties here. Our treaty was called the Camp Union Treaty and was signed right down at the between the Bear and the Yuba River. And those treaties were never ratified. So the Indians I know from all around here in my family, they all actually moved. There was a 12 by 12 mile piece of land that was carved out that had this amazing, included several ecosystems for plant and animal gathering, the river, of course, access to the salmon and the fish, and the different, where the herd migrations, that you could have access to these different things. So the people moved onto that land, and that was between Rough and Ready and Penn Valley. And then the treaties were actually hidden because the Senate at the time, I guess, was so afraid that there would be war, because they were still debating whether Indians had souls or if they were animals, and definitely whether they should have this rich piece of land, because they don't know how to tend it. You know, they don't know how to farm, they don't know how to have cattle. And so those treaties were actually hidden and not found until like 1904. So the California Indians had none of that. So they're not treaty tribes, not by any fault of our own, I suppose. And so those rancherias were the groups of Indians that had come together, usually at a ranch. That's where we get all of our last names. Like our last name Rose comes from John Rose and his settlement on the Yuba River. So that's sort of a leftover verbiage, I think, from the Mexican ranchero. But, you know, in my eyes, in California today, they are seen as reservations, but not treaty reservations.
And another question, and when the treaties were found, what happened?
Nothing. There was quite some time later, California did get federal money to go out and purchase swaths of land that were sort of in the same area where the treaty lands would have been, because the California natives, obviously with no support and no protection, were just dwindling out of existence, starving to death. They had no, I mean, it's a, you know, that whole sad story, I'll just set over there for right now, is really, really, really bad. But that they did purchase swaths of land, which became lands for the homeless Indians at the time. And Nevada City Rancheria is sort of in that group, only we were created differently. We were created by Presidential Executive Order in 1913 by President Woodrow Wilson. And it wasn't for homeless Indians, just like any Indian who could come and live here. It was specifically for the Nevada City Rancheria Band of Indians, or at the time, at the Nevada City, Nevada County, our Nisenan families that were here, because we had had such a long interaction since the time of the settlement. And I don't know, Nevada City, I mean, of course, atrocities happen here like they happen all over, but our women suffragettes, Belle Douglas is one of my heroines. You know, that suffragette movement, I think they knew Woodrow Wilson's wife, because I heard that she was quite involved in the suffragette movement as well, because I'm figuring, how can this little tiny tribe how did they know about us? And I think that's the connection there. So while, you know, all of those rancherias were terminated during the termination era between 1958 and 1965, 41 of the rancherias have been restored and given back their federal recognition, while we are one of the 3 that remain in a terminated state, which, you know, of course, I like justice, and I feel like, well, if everybody else, why not us? And it feels kind of yucky that way. But it's all about community. And I see it again, like our community is again stepping up, you know, kind of like Belle Douglas did and the other women of the Native Daughters of the Golden West and the Native Sons of the Golden West, and this community movement that really did protect, and I hate the word save, like the saviorism or whatever, but it's true. Like if it had not been for Belle and that group of women, constantly, we have so many beautifully penned letters between her and the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and she's just saying, how are you going to protect the Indians? They're being abused. There's squatters up there. All these things are happening, and she just held it down. And then when the last headman up here, or last chief, you know, Charlie Cully passed away, he had no heirs, and so that's when that piece of land up here on Cement Hill was like the last stronghold, and it was turned into the Rancheria, and we had federal recognition. And so that's the big fight, is to get that restored so that we have access to health and housing and education, you know, the federal Indian programs that we are barred from accessing because we're terminated. And I don't like that.
Next question was, what would it take to receive federal recognition?
Right. So, you know, to me, the easiest way would be another presidential executive order. You know, and that's me with my very limited knowledge of how the world works and how politics works. I've been trying to I'm educating myself all the time about politics, but it's either legislation, which, you know, people keep telling me is the hardest way. There's a lot of politics in there, I feel like we're stuck between a rock, a hard place, and a cliff, and you know, daggers or whatever. It just seems that the Friends, except for our community, and this is spreading, you know, a lot of people they care, but there's a lot of people who don't. And there's a lot of fears out there. There's a lot of politics in the Indian world with other federally recognized tribes, that I'm really just having my eyes open to a lot of these things. But as an American who believes in the American dream, I'm sorry, I keep doing these air quotes, but it hurts my American heart, if you will, to think that something this clear, it's an injustice that's still sitting there. Other tribes have received restoration of recognition, and we continue. Like, one of the first places gold was discovered in our watershed, in our waterways, in our territory, and like some of the first to be affected. Yet, you know, it's just languishing over there. And so legislation, there's a possibility that there may be some administrative process. You know, we were in federal court for 8 years and we lost our case against the Bureau of Indian Affairs. We were the first California tribe to be denied restoration through that process. And their defense was the 6-year statute of limitations. So like they say in 1971, we should have been, you know, and I think, well, I was 5 years old and you expect me to know what I know now back then, so that, you know, I'm sort of the one leading all these things right now. Our chairman, Richard Johnson, is, I mean, there's only so much that we can know, is because we're not educated and we don't understand the system fully. So we lost because of that 6-year statute of limitations. But when you realize the other 41 rancherias were also outside the 6-year statute and they've been restored, it feels like a bunch of excuses, you know, and it doesn't feel fair. Like, why treat somebody this way and this other person this way? So we're really exploring those options right now. And I think, you know, to go back to the beginning of the conversation, visibility, regardless of what path we end up taking, I just think we should keep this campaign with the thoughts that it's going to be legislative. If we just focus on that, and if it happens a different way, oh yay, you know, but if not, it's raising the visibility, educating people about the tribe, showing them that there is an injustice still here that really should be fixed, because we're a tiny tribe and we're losing people left and right. And, you know, my grandpa started this conversation about recognition and things. And then it went to my mom. She was our first chairwoman of Nevada City Rancheria, and now I'm doing it. And I don't want to pass this on to my daughter. I would rather pass her, you know, an education, because we can't afford that stuff. Rights to healthcare, you know, housing, all the different things, just the different grants that open up. If you're a federal tribe, it's incredible. And I've been writing grants for CHIRP now, and I get all excited because I see these grants for Native Americans and tribal cultural revitalization grants and clean energy and all these things. And, you know, you go into the eligibility piece of the grant and it says federal tribes. And I'm like, you know, and to me, that doesn't seem fair. But as much as it was taken and promised and then broken and, you know, all the stuff in that conversation, I do think we just pushing the visibility, educating people. That way, when the time comes or some magic happens, like another Bell Douglas falls out of the sky, or, you know, something happens, Biden says, oh, I want to do an executive order. Yay, that sounds like a whole bunch of greatness or whatever. Then we're ready, and, you know, we're ready to move forward. So it's not a great answer, but it's sort of the wash of question marks and confusion and stuff that I have every day as we do this work.
Thank you, Shelley. I've unmuted our Zoom guests, so you can unmute yourself if you have a question, or if you're watching on Facebook, please feel free to put a question in our comment area below. But yeah, that's so much knowledge.
So much, you know, and all gathered like randomly. Mm-hmm. Because when I was doing this work, you know, 10 years ago, even 20 years ago now, I know so much more now. And sometimes I just fall into things and I kind of look around and I'm like, oh, like that's what that is, you know, and it's a horrible way to learn, I guess. But there's no template. There's no federal recognition for dummies out there. There's nothing to follow. And each tribe, you know, you can look to other federally recognized tribes, even geographically, that are kind of close to us, and they're completely different because in the way those tribes were terminated, where they are, if they have land still, all these different factors fall in that, you know, there's no template or how-to book, which just makes it that much more of a question mark.
Well, definitely, if you want to help to promote the message and to get more stuff out there, I would encourage you to go check out Nisenan.org, check out the Chirp website. You can share these videos that we have on the library's Facebook with Shelley talking about their history here, about her experiences, and get the word out that way. And we had the question, how can we get more involved to help?
Wonderful. Yeah, so we started Chirp. It's actually founded by our local friend, Native American artist Judith Lowry. And, Judith really it felt like for the longest time, she was the only one who saw us. And she's like, it's absolutely not okay. Your people are invisible here. And because she is a visual artist of large scale too. She's got stuff in the Smithsonian all over the place. I mean, she's a very well-known Native American artist and does beautiful work telling her story of her people, because she's also Native American. And so we started Chirp to be the vehicle to be able to get donations and write for grants and do these works, develop projects and programs that can have a bank account and a way to be in the world. And so through Chirp, we have created many programs around education, art, cultural revitalization, and economic development. One of those programs is the Ancestral Homeland's Reciprocity program. And it's based loosely off one of the tribes in California who actually has a voluntary land tax. So people who live in their territory can not only pay, to the county or the city where they live, whatever taxes that people pay, but they can offer something back to the tribe, who most of the time has nothing, especially if they don't have federal recognition. So the Ancestral Homelands Reciprocity Program is a way that people can just give monthly donations to Chirp. Any amount that you want. We have a lot of local businesses who have stepped up, who have our land acknowledgement. We have a little sticker, a window cling that says that you're part of our program. And that money all obviously feeds the Chirp budget to do the work that we do. So there's art. We also have another program that's visibility through art, where we work with local artists, and we've been pairing them with tribal members the last few years and producing amazing art and incredible visibility. And then we're building curriculum. We have the obviously Untitled Chapter book that's paired now with a curriculum, mostly for little kids, third and fourth graders, where they can do a pine nut bead activity, where they can create their own pine nut beads. Their class can make the necklace and then gift it back to the tribe if they want to, because we need gifts to give elders and gifts to give people that we meet. And we did this before with another class, and it worked out so well. And then our other educational things, please check out our social media. There's just in November, we did the entire month, we just pushed out digital content. There's video and all kinds of great digital yummies where you can learn more about the tribe. But if you go to nisenan.org, we've been working on revamping and revitalizing our web presence. We have an online store where you can buy Chirp merch, shirts and bags and cups and things like that. And then the prints from our visibility through art, because the artists donate their pieces, they donate their time, and then we made prints of their artworks. I even have an artwork up on there that you can buy the prints if you so choose. And so there's just a lot of ways. We get asked about volunteering a lot, and we're trying to put together our volunteer program. Hopefully, this year we do have 32 acres on Deer Creek now, that eventually the Deer Creek Tribute Trail will be passing through our property there. And so there's opportunity in the future to help with, we're putting together a land management plan with the Sierra Fund. And so, hopefully there will be lots of hands-on opportunity. But if you would just go and get educated and then share it around, I mean, that to me is just the biggest help right now. Say Nisenan, not Maidu, or not Maidu. If I saw the sign and it's all like on Maidu Avenue is just sitting right there in a mall, that's another task in the bag at some point in time.
Yeah, definitely. And we hope everyone keeps joining us for these educational programs with Shelley. We have 3 more coming up in March. And also our finale, Shelley's going to get a chance to grill somebody who has some experience with getting federal things through the federal channels for Native American people. So hopefully we'll be able to get you a little bit more information and get Shelley a little bit more help with that. So we hope you join us for those. Yeah.
Great. Yay.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions, but thank you everyone so much for joining us. We hope you join us again next time, and yeah, learn more on the CHIRP website and on nisenan.org.
Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.